this. Democrats want to have for the pardon board, you're in jail for life because you murdered someone viciously. If they can get two people on that board to let you out, like Mumia, rather than a unanimous vote to be pardoned, they want to make it 2/3. Well, you know what they really want to make it? 1/3 or zero, just let him go. Can you imagine Mumia Abu-Jamal? They get two people on there. Yep, that's enough for Mumia. He's sick, everything else. Let's let him out of jail. Martina White is here to talk about what's going on with this. And a little bit later, for the life of me, I don't know what the heck is up with the Pennsylvania Republican senators. They want speed cameras now. They voted it out of committee all over the place, all over the state. So when I tell you Philadelphia comes for you, believe the show, believe one of the mantras. They did the Roosevelt Boulevard. All right, it's a weird road through the center of a city, et cetera. We get it all. And they extrapolated information from there to say we ought to have speed cameras all over the place. So let's say you're in Exton, like Joe of Exton, in my mind. Joe of Exton, right? You're way away from Philadelphia. What the hell does that have to do with me? Suddenly, you got a speed camera there. Where did that idea come from? The Roosevelt Boulevard in Philadelphia. And this pesky little Democrat in Northeast Philadelphia, Ed Nielsen, getting slaps on the back yesterday. They're all in on it in Harrisburg. Well, why should you be speeding? I want to put something. You know what? I want an ankle bracelet on all these guys and all these women, high heels or not, that are voting for this. Let's put a bracelet on them. Let's put cameras on them 24 hours a day. Do you think they're speeding? Dan, I once had a shootout with a guy who was in favor that you couldn't hold your cell phone while driving, couldn't talk on the cell phone. Then he was caught. Oh, man, did we go down Broadway? So what did he do then? He had somebody drive him at taxpayer expense until we got on that so he could talk on his cell phone. Yeah. Speed cameras all over the place. But this is a serious breaking story. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal by a man charged with offenses related to January 6. The justice will hear a case by defendant Joseph Fisher. Now, I believe it's 4 had to approve. We'll try to tell you who the 4 that approved of this or more. Here's why it's important. Because this may be a way to cut off Jack Smith. This guy, Joseph Fisher, is seeking to address the charge accusing him of obstructing an official proceeding, namely certification by Congress on January 6th. 2 other January 6 defendants brought a similar appeal, the outcome of which will be dictated by the Supreme Court's ruling in Fisher's case. The public defender representing Fisher says he's pleased the court will clarify the scope of the law in question, but had no further comment. Now, what that means is this. Look, you break into the Capitol, the stuff that was on, you're fighting with the police even. The more serious crime that really bumps up the sentencing for the January 6 defendants is trying to subvert insurrection, trying to subvert the vote, the certification vote. All right, so this guy Fisher, that's interesting. Here is the nugget, though, for all of us. The Trump people have been charged with the same offense, pretty much, even though not doing the same thing. The court, by taking this case, you know the pace of this. There'll be oral arguments. They come in, they only work on Tuesdays, and God knows what they do. The Supreme Court will not decide on this, Stan, until at least June. So the Trump people are going to make the case, and I think it's a good case. Well, how can we be expected to be tried by Jack Smith, who's racing now? He sees these poll numbers with Trump. We have some more today that are unbelievable. He's trying to race to get that march to jump the Court of Appeals to get the March case going. By the way, Andy McCarthy reports today in these federal cases, Trump has to be in court every one of those days. And if Jack Smith gets his way, sentencing, if Trump is convicted of anything, would happen in August. Can you imagine the nightmare of this? You just imagine how crazy that would be. There's polling out there. And I'm looking, you can be the first caller of the day. Somebody tell me the psychology of this. If Trump is convicted of anything, 31% of Republicans in a poll out today say they will no longer support Trump. Now, I wonder if they're really supporting him to start with. If you believe it's political, in large measure, in almost total measure, what's going on here, then why in the world, if Trump is convicted, would you no longer be able to support Trump? Is it that people will be saying you're voting for a criminal and you can't stand that? I mean, if you believe that this is political, then why would a conviction matter as far as voting for Trump? We see that Trump has jumped up with these 91 counts tremendously. Why would a conviction on any of them? Because you realize, at least in many cases, if you're a Trump in Washington, D.C., it's like going to hell. You know, a jury there is going to convict you. It's almost like being somebody charged, a businessman charged with somebody making, I want $1 million from them because the sidewalk, that kind of thing. You know, I always say, be a murderer in Philadelphia. You have a better chance with the jury than you do being a businessman that somebody's bringing some kind of charge against. All right, phone lines are 855-839-1210. Hunter Biden blast MAGA Republicans today. Hunter telling us that's what it's all about here. Okay. They're going to bring him in. There's going to be a battle over this with the subpoena. I realize I am a target of the Trump attack machine, Dan, whenever you see any of this. I think he just held the news conference a little while ago, and that we're going to buy any of this. So this is good news for Trump vis-a-vis the Jack Smith case, where Smith is trying to jump over an appellate court and get to the Supreme Court, which he has now, that they're looking at this as quickly as possible. So he can go forward with the March trial, knowing he might be able to derail Trump that way. Are 31% of Republicans really going to go the other way if Trump is convicted of something? You got to think that's the case Nikki Haley and DeSantis and others will make at some point here. That's where this is going. But watch this case. The oral arguments will start. The case meaning, did this guy, was it right to charge him with obstruction of the certification process? In other words, was this a riot or was this an insurrection? Now, how does that apply to Trump? Well, in broad terms, he's being charged with the same stuff. And he's going to make a great argument, I think. If this guy's case is going on and the Supreme Court hasn't settled this, how in the world can I stand trial for it? So that's with the Jack Smith case. I don't know that it has anything to do with the other cases. The timeline, the one being rushed, is the March case with Jack Smith, though. That's the main one that we're looking at today. All right, we got other news, too. Our buddy Wally Zimmerlaw. He'll be on the show tomorrow because we're kind of crowded today. Big-time federal attorney. He's the one we had on recently who won the case of the constitutional rights of cops out in Springfield Township to call themselves the Thin Blue Line versus the mob there. He won another big one over in Delaware County, which was the site of ferocious battles in 2020 over counting the vote. The out-of-control Democrats cannot determine the Republicans that will sit on the election board that will monitor the election. They were claiming they get to pick the Republicans. Yeah, let's get Mitt Romney to sit on there. He's not doing anything. He hates Trump. Yeah, do anything you want with Trump in Delaware County. Count every vote. So he'll be with us to break that down. And, we constantly try on this show to tell people you can't give up. The idea people get depressed. How does my vote count? It's all rigged anyhow. Well, Delaware County is one of the hot buttons of this with a lot of shenanigans that went on there in 2020. It's not Philadelphia, but it's pretty bad. Complete Democrat control. So he'll be on tomorrow to break down what that means. But we are winning on this front. I wish I could tell you we're winning on the mail-in ballot front as much as I would like. All right, so 855-839-1210, you get in. Hunter Biden being careful at the news conference to say, my dad was not financially involved in my business. Nice term of art there. Was he involved? Well, he wasn't financially involved. We have the impeachment inquiry coming up. Boy, we got a lot on the plate for Jeff Van Drew, who's here. And in Jersey, they don't give up. And I know, Dan, this depresses me. I got to say it, though, because it doesn't bother me. Bring it on. They're trying to codify the wind nonsense, the big wind stuff. They're trying to put it into the actual law after they've been stopped on this. Bill Murphy, again, is behind this. Our buddy Robin will be here at 2:30 today. So, I try not to go overboard when we win because then people get upset. They think you've won forever. You got to realize this is hand-to-hand combat every day. Bring it on.
That's me going overboard in the background with the music, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
not a Dama choice.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't bother me. Honestly, I live for it. A guy like Scott Presler, he wakes up. Yeah, bring it on. We're going to win again today. Let's play 2. We're going to outlast you. The stakes are too high. So this is good news, though, that the Supreme Court is hearing this guy Fisher's case. And I told you how that impacts Trump. All right. Side question today. Oh man.
Yeah.
Guess who is 34 years of age today? Wow. What's the count of guys that she's been in relationships with?
I don't know.
I
don't think that many.
No?
No.
Well, man, it's an awful lot of songs that she's been able to crank out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of songs.
So Taylor Swift, 34 today. Of course.
12 boyfriends.
12 boyfriends. That's it? Yeah?
Publicly known exes.
Who are some of those people? Any famous ones?
There's 15 listed here. Drew Dunlap, Jordan Alford, Joe Jonas, Taylor Lautner, the werewolf from Twilight.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember him?
Yep.
He was relevant for a while. John Mayer, she dated.
I knew that one. That's a big one. Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, who's actually really good in the
Brokeback
Covenant. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant.
Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, Brokeback Mountain. But in Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, he plays a soldier that's very believable.
After he broke up with her, then did he do Brokeback Mountain? No, we don't know. Yeah.
She was dating Jake Gyllenhaal. Let's find out. Let's do the math here.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't say dates. Why would it not say dates? What a horrible source. TaylorSwiftFandom.com.
Right.
Harry Styles. They dated. Calvin Harris.
Okay.
Tom Hiddleston. You know who Tom Hiddleston is?
No, I don't.
I know the name. I don't know why I don't know who it is. He's a big actor.
Okay.
Loki. Oh, yeah, Loki from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, boy.
And obviously Travis Kelce, as we're seeing now.
All right. Now, before I give the side question, I didn't want to forget our guy in Harrisburg, Dan, just sent me a note correcting me. It's not 2 out of 3. It's 3 out of 5. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know what 2/3 would be. So 2/3.
4 out of 6.
Well, there's 5 on the board of pardons. So I'm not sure if they have to get 4 out of 5.
I'm not good with fractions, Dom. That's why we're in radio.
Well, no, wait a minute. I am. The board is made up of 5 people. So 2/3, you only need 3 members. Well, that's only 60%. Here's why it's important, Dan. That's even worse. You could have 2 people on the board saying, no way Mumia is getting out of jail, right? And if 3 progressives get on there, then he still gets out of jail. I mean, think about it. The most serious crimes, you could have what's the guy that killed 5 people? There's several on Supreme Court, and they say, yeah, he's a model citizen now. Let him out.
16/64.
Right. So
what is it simplified?
1/4.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are good at fractions.
Well, I can pretend anyhow. Thanks for having the answer right here. Okay, so let me give you the sides. We want to know somebody you'd like to see disappear from the limelight. I'll put it politely that way, okay?
No, we want him to go away.
Well, to go away, right, so almost completely. All right, I'm going to start off with the Markles, both of them. I don't need just her. I need him
Harry
just
Markle?
as much. The Markles, the Markle family, yes,
Yeah,
Harry Markle.
Harry Markle.
And I'm torn on this one because I get such great anger and fodder for the show. But Sonny Hostin of The View, gotta go away. Go away.
Go
Go
away.
away.
Yeah.
How about yours?
Can we just take? Do you want to take everyone from The View off, or?
Yeah, we don't want to hear Joy Behar. We know.
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
want her to go away, and Whoopi, she can go away too. Mindy Kaling.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I just every time she appears in something, man, it all goes downhill. I don't know why she gets so much hype as being hilarious. She put out Velma recently. It
She's a
wasn't
good
funny at
writer.
all.
She was
Is
the
she
writer
though?
of The Office,
Was
but
she?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
My
Along with
great is Kelly Kapoor, like one of the greatest
yes,
characters on
yeah,
that show. It's just
yeah.
ever since then, man. Every time she appears in something, I'm like, go away. I don't.
Yeah,
Ugh.
no, well, there's a lot of PC stuff thrown in there too, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's what it is. Everything she does is
yes.
hyper PC now.
All right, so obviously we want Taylor Swift to go away a bit.
And one more.
Yes.
Maisie's gonna appreciate me for this one. Teresa Giudice.
Oh,
If you watch
yes.
Real
Yes.
Housewives, man, this past season, all you just want her to do is go away. Her and Melissa's feud, it's like so one-sided at this point.
Little note on that because I'm not gonna ask to get them on this week, but there's, the Italian American and Sons of Italy and all that damn they're going nuts. They don't like how Tommy DeVito is being treated, quarterback for the New York Giants, who play the Eagles next week.
Yeah.
They're talking about all these stereotypes. Did you see his agent? The young guy with a fedora, the collar up and all. He looks like a mob figure, I mean, give me a break. So they sent me a note. They'd like to come on the show to discuss Tommy DeVito, and since you're of Italian heritage, surely you will agree the media is out of bounds. No, I think it's funny. I think it's funny that this guy's an NFL quarterback and somehow or another he's winning
How
games.
about the joke yesterday? Jack Fritz over on
Yeah.
WIP had a little off-color anti-Italian. He said that DeVito is going to have problems against the Eagles on Christmas Day because he's going to have too much fish in his stomach from the night before and all
Oh,
the fishes.
the Feast of the Seven
Yeah,
Fishes.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that. We may have to bring Jack Fritz into the court here.
I think that's a
Fritz,
great
that
joke, man.
sounds kind of Germanic. The Germans? Yeah, I don't know what they would do, what kind of jokes they would make if it were Tommy Borowski. Apparently his mother, he lives at home and his mother makes great cutlets. They said this guy could be right out of a Bon Jovi song.
Yeah, his mom does his laundry still.
Yeah, Bon Jovi, even worse than Springsteen. Come on.
No way.
Yeah,
No way.
yeah,
No,
yeah, he's
Springsteen's so
worse.
much
Yeah.
worse.
All right, 855
Bon
twelve
Jovi doesn't
ten.
pander like Springsteen.
So, in honor of Taylor Swift's birthday, somebody you'd want to have go away. I got a whole list here. Not going to take them all off, though. Yeah, and don't go for Joy Bait. Go a little bit. We always tell you if you want to win over the course of the show, go a little bit outside the box. All right. So, could Mumia get out of jail? That's the first thing I think about when I hear what Democrats are plotting. And if you're 50 miles from the Dom Giordano show right now, could there be a speed camera in your future? Oh, yeah, the Republicans in the Senate, they think it's a great idea too. Dan the Red, I'm not sure about the speed. You're not in favor of the speed camera, are you? Usually cameras, you're on that side of it. But, oh, man.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. 855-839-1210. That's how you get in on Talk Radio 1210. All right, we got some great ones on Twitter for who they want to go away. My God. How about LeBron James? I'd like to see LeBron James get away as he continues to collect statistics in the NBA and waits to play with his son, Bronny. He came to his game the other night, the great man, LeBron James. First game he's played for USC. He's late. He's coming in during the national anthem, Dan, and no one stops him. And he walks to his seat in the
Oh,
front
come
row, right
on.
across everything during the national
Way to
anthem,
take the attention.
and then plops down, no hat off, and sits during the entire national anthem. Now, he is a mega, particularly in a basketball arena. There's no bigger name out there. And nationwide, very recognizable, maybe among the 10 most recognizable people. Sometimes you say, "Is that Dan Borowski over there?"
Get it all the time.
Yeah,
Can't go into a Wawa.
but when this guy is, as big as he is, on top of it, it calls attention to it and just sits during the national anthem. Very, very strange stuff.
So what
But
would you prefer him to do? Wait until it's done?
yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
think that's the
he should have
appropriate.
waited. But then if you come in, you got to stand right away. If you get to your seat, but it's in the front row, you can't come in at that point. Now, the Phillies game and other things, they don't let you even walk down the aisle to a good seat until a bat is over. You got to come between batters and all. You can't disrupt that. The national anthem, do whatever you want and sit down. All right. Brett Baer last night had
14/35.
14/35.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What is that?
Simplify it.
Oh, 40%.
Gosh, man, you are
Yeah.
good. Wow. You went into percentages too.
Am I doing a radio show or am I doing some
Well, you
advanced
said you were
math
good
class?
at fraction. I don't think anyone is. But
Yeah,
look at
there you go.
You are.
All right,
The only person in the world.
Brett Baer last night had on Zelensky, and boy, I think he really held his feet to the fire. The Ukraine situation going on. Now, what I'm going to ask Jeff Van Drew, we know he's opposed to more spending for Ukraine. What is it that he wants Ukraine to do, or what is it that he thinks should happen here then? In other words, what's the end game? Would be the thing to ask, given everything that's going on. That's what's going on in Washington now. Here's Brett Baer, though, talking about what we've said before. Zelensky, a lot of people in Ukraine not liking that he's authoritarian. It's his way or the highway. Here's what Brett asked him.
Mr. President, there are critics who say that you've tried to consolidate power. Headlines that the Orthodox leader in Kyiv under house arrest, that you consolidated Ukraine's TV outlets, that you ruled out holding elections next spring, calling for unity. But then the mayor of Kyiv says that you're turning it into an authoritarian state. How do you deal with that criticism? What do you say to critics who are saying that?
I say such person from government or mayors think about the war, think about how to defend our people. Don't travel through the world each day. Travel to the front line. Ask people, ask soldiers what they need. Do this. Not build roads for today. Don't do it. Spend all your money to the weapon, to the drones, to the society, to the pensions, and etc. And don't cry because you're leaders. And that's it.
Cry.
That's why we are, and that's why we stay, because mostly people are not crying. People stay and fight against Putin. And we don't have any enemies in our country. We can't have time for this. And we don't have it. We have only one enemy. This is Putin. And that's it.
But you'll stand from democracy going
Yes,
forward.
of course. And of course, because we are really defending democracy and we are really defending freedom.
All right. So that tells us. So when Zelensky was in town, I'm looking at a picture of him. He met with a huge gathering in a fancy gala of defense contractors, some of the biggest names out there, wanting more of that $61 billion. And the Biden administration has the nerve to say, think about it. We're spending all this money, but it's being spent here in the United States. Nah, it's taxpayer money. And these defense contractors are sucking it up. It's not helping the average American spending $61 billion in this whole deal. People are in the most recent polling just around 50% or so saying enough already. We've done enough. Now's the time they're going to have to negotiate a settlement. That means probably some of the disputed land would have to be given up. I mean, isn't that the bottom line? I'll ask Jeff Andrew, is that what it boils down to at about 1:30 today? All right, phone lines are 855-839-1210.
We
Don't cry. Let's go to Bill in Montco on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Bill, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dom. The person I like to see go away for good is Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, yeah,
I
that's
just
a good
can't
one.
stand
Yeah.
looking at him. He's unfunny. He got caught with blackface, and he's been trying to virtue signal ever since. He's a hypocrite. I want to see him go away.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, I'd say in some ways he's more offensive than Colbert, who's at least smart, smug, and all that. Jimmy Kimmel is not, and he sees himself as this emotional voice. He's our moral clarity guy, Jimmy Kimmel.
Breaks down crying.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk with Martina White. As I said, in the dead of night here in December, headed toward Christmas, Democrats are pushing to change this unanimous vote on the pardon board to much less than that. Really? Would that mean Mumia? Sure, it would mean Mumia. And it would mean hundreds of these vicious murderers, drug lords, and anything else. And you remember during the Fetterman election, we talked about some of his votes, and as lieutenant governor, some of the people he got connected to the various pardons and appeals boards and all that stuff. And how many people got out? Come on, Tom. They wouldn't do that with Mumia. Oh, really? And Larry Krasner would be helpful in getting it done. Martina also spoke, I think she was a lone Republican, at the big Stand With Israel rally held on Sunday. We'll ask her about that, too, and see what else is coming up. Man, in the dead of night, all of a sudden, it should be unanimous if you're in jail for life. You didn't get the death penalty. That means you're in jail for life. Unless you have enough evidence to overturn it in a court of law and appeal, you should be there. It shouldn't be you get pardoned for this. How many times did we have to go over this? Can you just imagine waking up? Hey, Mumia Abu Jamal walked out of jail today. Why not? All right, let's talk Dr. Benz first before Martina. It's the holiday season. We all know what that means. In addition to presents under the tree, it's time to use those FSA and HSA benefits we've been accruing all year. If your benefits are still available, now's a great time to reach out to my good friend, Dr. Robert Bentz from the Bentz Dental Group to set up that appointment for a consultation. Now, you know how much I admire Dr. Bentz and his quality work, attention to detail, and investment in the overall health of his patients. Dr. Bentz is a board-certified prosthodontist, was recently appointed to the board of the American College of Prosthodontics. So if you've been considering dental implants, reconstruction, have any dental or prosthodontic needs, call Dr. Bentz, the Bentz Medical Group today to schedule your appointment. Don't let 2023 end without taking advantage of those FSA and HSA benefits. Visit Bentz Dental Group, BENTZ, dentalgroup.com to book that appointment today, or call 610-272-6949. 610-272-6949. Tom Giordano Show. Welcome in, everyone. We haven't talked with State Representative Martina White from Northeast Philadelphia. And, we're in almost the holidays countdown here. Democrats are counting down to visions in their head, not of sugar plums, but of getting more vicious people out of jail. And Martina and Craig Williams called attention to that yesterday. Not that the Philadelphia Inquirer or anybody else alerts people, but we do once we know about it. Let's go to Martina White. Martina, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dom. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, congratulations, too. You may have been the only Republican invited to that stand with Israel the other night. Give us your impressions of what it was like on Sunday, I guess.
Well, I could tell you that the audience was absolutely phenomenal. The people there were definitely united in fighting back against the anti-Semitism that's been seen all across our city of Philadelphia, but also the country. I think the Jewish community is definitely supportive of what just transpired at UPenn's campus in terms of removing their president, who just made awful judgment calls when it came to the anti-Semitism that was taking place on their campus. And those students there did a phenomenal job to really make sure that was the end result. People need to be held accountable for their words and their actions and even their inaction on certain things. And I think, the end result is that we had a wonderful rally for the Jewish community in support of Israel. So I think, I'm just really grateful to have been a part of it.
Well, absolutely. I was glad to see that. I'm also glad to see that you and Craig Williams were on the Watchtower yesterday, blistering speeches. What is it that Democrats in the House are trying to do?
Dom, it's wild. Our leader had actually said it's Christmas come early for criminals. That's what the Democrats are doing here. The Speaker of the House came off of the rostrum and went onto the House floor to shout her top priority for Pennsylvania and in particular Philadelphia, where she's from, was to basically reduce the number of members of the Pardons Board to make it easier to let some of the most vicious and heinous criminals in our state get released early. So these people are typically murderers, rapists, and the Democrats tried to, say, oh, well, it's really for the people who, maybe didn't commit the crime directly, but who are serving life sentences for having participated in part of the crime, and it wasn't as bad, right? And so my remarks were to that effect, to address what they had said. And I said, people who are accomplices to murder or people who, hold down a woman while she's being raped by someone else, in my opinion, are just as culpable and should be serving their time the way that the judicial system tells this Commonwealth to do and our correction system to do. Those are the individuals who are too dangerous to be placed back out onto our streets. And the idea that you have a continuation of what surmounts to a pro-crime agenda by the Democrat caucus of their highest ranking official in their caucus and for the House of Representatives at this point is absolutely absurd to me. We have seen what their defund the police movement has done to our city. The fact that we are, 1,500 officers short, and we're doing the best to bring enough resources back to our communities to make sure people that officers are back on our streets. But this kind of policy is just really, really ridiculous at this point. But this is their top priority by their top leader in their caucus.
So now it's 5 members on the pardon board. Do they have to be unanimous to let someone go as in for life, or is it the majority?
Correct.
How does it unanimous?
So currently it's unanimous, and so they were trying to change it to 3/5.
Okay.
So 3 out of the 5 board members would only be necessary to allow someone back onto our streets who would have been serving a lifetime sentence.
Sure, it's unanimous because if you're serving a lifetime sentence, This is a weighty matter. People maybe have lost a loved one through this. The public is at risk. It should be so overwhelming and so rare that everybody on the board says, yeah, I see it that way. Not 3 out of 5. My God.
Exactly, Dom. And what was really inappropriate on the House floor was one of their members, Chris Rabb. He made remarks about how, victims' rights, right? But he wasn't referring to victims of crime. He was referring to the people who are serving these life sentences as being the victim.
Oh, my God.
And I was absolutely appalled and disgusted by it. That's what prompted me to stand up and speak. Normally, anytime I make remarks on the House floor, I go in, with prepared remarks, and I have them all written up. And my preference is always to read my remarks aloud. But on this one, I just, when you see those kinds of comments being made, you really have to have the backbone to stand up and rise and just speak your mind, because that kind of talk is just ridiculous, in my opinion.
It is. And let's face it, now, I don't think the Senate would go for that, but we don't want to rely on that. They do have the majority, and every day they're trying to sneak something through that's radical. But this is so extreme. Under this, I could see they get the right people there. 3 out of 5 people can say Mumia is sick. Let him go home.
Yep, absolutely. And I feel like that's their agenda, is just to get as many people out of prison as possible. I know there's abolitionists there who feel that we shouldn't have prison systems at all, that they should just be completely abolished. But the most striking part was the fact that it was their highest ranking Democrat in the House who got off the rostrum, went down to the floor, and this is her top priority to get done. And when the Republicans were in charge, back when Speaker Turzai was in, and I don't know how much time I have here, Dom, I don't want to mess you up here, but back when Speaker Turzai was in, when he came off the rostrum, it was to promote school choice, education, so that you can break the pipeline to prison problem and address safety and crime on our streets by making sure you have an educated populace that isn't committing those types of crimes, and instead is in our workforce, being productive members of society. But that's not where we're at in this day and age with the leadership that's in place by this one-seat majority ran Democrat House. And I am utterly just, as you can hear in my voice, just quite a bit frustrated at the moment.
Well, look, I hear you. And Martina, the media is complicit in this too. We'll do our best. I'm going to be an inside story this week. And I'll work this into the conversation somehow or another. The Inquirer and others got to be knowing about this, and we know about it. And it's amazing, this type of stuff going on. And as you couched it too, that the speaker comes off the speaker rostrum and speaks as a member of the House, and this is a top priority. That just shows you what we're up against here.
Absolutely. And we're about to hopefully finish what should have been done back in June, the budget, today, or hopefully before the end of this week. But the Democrats aren't, because they have a member who's resigning, we're not going to be in session until the primary of next year. So for 3-4 months now, coming up, we're just not going to be in session doing work, because they can't risk their power and control over the majority.
But let me ask you, listeners may
doing
not
the work of the people.
It's like an inside joke. Is it really true? There's not money to fix the roof, but they're still going to go away for 3 months?
Yeah, well, we're in session today, so I'm not really sure what the roof story is about, but I guess we'll find out soon enough.
All right. Well, Martina, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you again. Keep us in the loop.
Thank you, Dom. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all your fans out there. We love you guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, Martina. Martina White here, Dan, on Talk Radio 1210. You know how serious it is when the Speaker of the House comes down from the rostrum and is going to make a plea. It's special. Top priority. Let's get more of these people out of jail. And Chris Rabb, who's come on the show in previous years, he's from Mount Airy. That's where his thing. So you can imagine, right? Calls himself Rep Rabb.
Rep Rabb.
Rep Rabb
Rep
saying,
Rabb.
I'm here to speak for the victims. Oh, you mean Maureen Faulkner, who's on the show today? No, Mumia is the victim.
Rep Rabb.
Why is Mumia still in jail? He's obviously a changed man. He's sick. Three of them go, yeah, let's let Mumia out. Well, doesn't that have to be inanimate? No, not in America. All right, are they going to get away with this? All right, we'll see.
What's this with the roof?
I read something where the roof has a giant leak in it, and they're going back and forth so much. As she said, they won't have the majority, so they're not going to meet for 3 or 4 months. They don't know if the roof can be fixed or not.
Oh,
Can you
man.
imagine? It's a golden dome, too.
Yeah, with snow, you know.
Yeah, right.
Coming,
Yeah, can you
possibly.
imagine? But they come back to a flood. Well, we can't meet the rest of the year now. Thank you, Doug Mastriano. Thank you, wherever you are. All right, 855-839-1210. Give us somebody you'd like to see go away in honor of Taylor Swift, of course, here on her birthday. Dan, we're getting near the
And he
end.
says I've transformed into Scooby-Doo because they keep saying, "Rap."
All right, so we know that in our listener contest, great listener steady callers at Dom Show 1210, that Robert and Ben Salem was upended by Bruce of the Northeast. Bruce going to be tough.
Yeah, Brucey makes it to the next round.
But a close race, Gary of Newtown versus Leslie Fisherpine.
Yeah, currently sitting at 53.8% for Leslie.
Okay. So that's about
still 1
yeah.
hour left in the vote at Dom Show
Okay.
1210. Goes on until about 2:10ish today.
Okay.
Get your votes in. But yeah, Bruce has supplanted Robert, which is surprising because behind the scenes, we don't have the seeds out there, the numbers where we seeded them, but we seeded Robert pretty high ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll announce another one, at the end of the day? Another
Around
contest?
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, we'll have the next,
2 o'clock.
next vote out
We'll
there.
have another duo.
Where do you want to go
face-
next? So we got 2 matchups that we have
Right.
to decide in the first round still. In the top right bracket, we have Earl and Tacony versus Drew and Upper Darby. In the top left, we have Joe and Exton versus Scott and Mount Laurel.
I'm going to go Joe. We called in yesterday. I want to see.
Now we're going Joe now.
I want to
next.
see
Okay.
how strong the Joe power is. I'm not sure who's the top seed.
So for those that
Earl or Joe?
aren't familiar listeners and they're just tuning
Yeah.
in for the first time, Joe and Scott are upcoming votes. Why?
Yeah.
Why are we doing Joe and Scott?
Joe, because he's a one-of-a-kind character who sounds like he's out of a movie. Scott of Mount Laurel, he's just one of the most articulate callers, and he's shouted out to the show undercover on 2 Phillies broadcasts.
Yeah, that's what I love about Scott is
Yeah.
those broadcast
Yeah.
shout outs. And some of these callers are funny callers that would be considered almost like a whack pack to the Dom show where they're just, characters on the show, fun, and
Right.
they always just bring fun, such as Bruce or Joe. But people like Scott are the kind of callers that call in on topic most of the time, but he does things outside of the show, peripheral to the show, that means a lot to the show and adds content to the show, like those Phillies shout outs. And another one that again is going on right now, Leslie versus Gary. Leslie's always on topic, but she does things peripheral to the show. She was out there on the Italy trip with you leading a tour.
Yes.
She was man, she's all over the place. She sent the Lays when we were talking about Hawaii to Dom Day.
Oh, paid for the drinks one time. Yes.
Yeah.
So exactly.
Some great callers on that Dom Show Caller of the Year contest at Dom Show 1210. Go vote now.
All right, coming up, more of your calls, 855-839-1210. And I'll tell you, it's the end of the year where you get these great nuggets. Philadelphia is leading the nation in a search. You know how you search near me? You want to find something near me? Wait until you hear what Philadelphia is. It's one of the most hard to believe.
Cheesesteaks.
Yeah, no, that would be obvious. Or plasma donations. Philadelphia has got a good number of
What?
those.
Plasma donations.
And I have the first 6 months worldwide of the top Netflix shows, and only one of mine is on there that I highly recommend, The Diplomat. We'll give you the others at some point today. Let's get to Captain Chucky, though. The holidays are here. Get your table ready. Make that call to Captain Chucky's brand new product, Philly Famous Clams Casino, where I go in Flower Town every week. They are flying out of there. People love it. Ask your Captain Chucky's for availability. And now it's time to get all those side items too. Stuffed mushrooms, homemade side dishes and salads. They'll help you out with that. Captain Chucky's, those great breaded, non-breaded crab cakes, literally a crab cake for everybody. Dessert, soup, sides, appetizers, my personal favorite, the Dom roll. And they use only the highest quality ingredients, the Gulf shrimp. Perfect example, huge hit, always wild caught, never farm raised. So visit one of Captain Chucky's locations. They're everywhere. See the crew in Newtown Square, Westtown Farm Market, Mullica Hill Farm Market, Jason and Bridget Latier in Jameson, Tony and Jamie Parson in Cinnamonson, the Vogelsang family in Runnymede, New Jersey. In Ocean City, it's Chris and Donna Ryan. In Seattle, the McCann family. Now, Seattle, Ocean City, open Fridays and Saturdays, noon till 5. Big congrats to Sam Cancelleri, Irish Mike McGarry. The Medford location is now open. In Northeast Philadelphia, the Graziani family right there at Home Circle. One website to remember, welovecrabcakes.com. If you're headed to the shore, though, check out Captain Chucky's at the shore.com. All right, Dom Giordano Show. Here's a little bit of the stylings of Hunter Biden playing the addict card, the love of his dad card, MAGA Republicans. He's fired up at his news conference earlier this hour. Here's
For
what he
6
said.
years, MAGA Republicans, including members of the House committees who are in a closed-door session right now, have impugned my character, invaded my privacy, attacked my wife, my children, my family, and my friends. They have ridiculed my struggle with addiction. They have belittled my recovery, and they have tried to dehumanize me, all to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service.
It's impossible. It's impossible to impugn your character. There's nothing we can say that would dehumanize or impugn it. You are it. We didn't have an affair with the wife while you were married of your dead brother. We didn't run up bills that are astronomical with prostitutes and crack and everything else. My God, it's just an endless binge with this
I
guy.
do have a little bit more audio from
Yeah.
Hunter.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hunter. All right, another brilliant press conference. So they're meeting now to move forward with subpoenaing to bring him in. If not, then they move toward accountability actions to punish him for not coming in. All right, let's go to Bo in Levittown. Who is it you want to have disappear, meaning go away? Bo, who is yours? Yo, Bo. All right, let's go to Gary in Newtown in a close race with
Hello.
Leslie. Hey, Gary, who do you want to go away?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
I was going to go with, and it's the same thing, but I was going to go with George Soros. But you do a whole segment on Thursday. Larry Krasner. We live here in Bucks County, and the crime rate for Bucks, Montco, Delaware, as you've articulated on your show, continues to increase here, and the ones we're catching are the ones coming from Philadelphia.
That's a great one. How could I argue with that? Larry Krasner? Well, the only argument I can make, Dan, if he goes away, Krasner land / Krasner world goes away.
Yeah.
I'd have to give it up for the team. You know, for talk radio, I'd have to give it up. Let me go to Bo in Levittown. All right, Bo, hi, who's yours?
Hey, John Kerry would be mine because he would single-handedly put billions of people into poverty just by getting rid of coal without any substitute. He has to go away.
Thank you very, very much. And he also probably would try to eat a cheesesteak hoagie, which no human can do, and certainly John Kerry can't do.
I'm not against it.
No, but I mean, Dan, the mincing way he ate it. I mean, it put out videos. There was a whole group here that went after him on this. The cheesesteak.
Maisie has sold me on mayonnaise on the cheesesteak, though.
Oh,
yeah,
that's repugnant.
Makes the cheese more creamy, she says.
Yeah, well, we will have to hold that against Maisie. All right, it's Taylor Swift's birthday. We say happy birthday by asking, like Taylor Swift, who would you like to see go away?
Just go away.
855-839-1210. Jeff Van Drew, right from Washington. A lot developing. He's here at 1:30 today. That's all coming up on Talk Radio 1210.